I'm Abby Huntsman, and you're in the Strategy Room. Last night, Fox Business moderated one of the last Republican presidential debates before the primaries begin. A lot of heated exchanges, including one between New Jersey Governor Christie and Florida Senator Marco Rubio. Here's what happened. Christie strongly denied supporting Supreme Court Justice Sotomayor's appointment, except it sounds like he did just that. Take a listen.
Unfortunately, Governor Christie has endorsed many of the ideas that Barack Obama supports, whether it's Common Core or gun control or the appointment of Sonia Sotomayor or the donation he made to Planned Parenthood. Our next president and our Republican nominee cannot be someone who supports those positions.
I stood on the stage and watched Marco and rather indignantly look at Governor Bush and say, someone told you that because we're running for the same office, that criticizing me will get you to that office. It appears that the same someone's been whispering in old Marco's ear, too.
Here with analysis, our Democratic strategist Basil, Smikle Jr. and Republican flip Pidot. Welcome to both of you. It was quite the debate last night, a number of exchanges. This was one of them, so I want to get your thoughts. Flip, we'll start with you. Sure. It's a good attack line for Rubio on Christie, the fact that he's saying he did support Sotomayor. But then you look back on what Christie actually said at the time.
Right.
And he said, it wouldn't be my pick, right? But she's qualified for it. So I guess it's how you define support or endorse.
I think that's right. Both candidates can make a plausible claim that they were being accurate last night. Christie did say that he would absolutely not have picked her. She's not his kind of justice. But once she was nominated, he said that he supported the Senate confirming her because he found her to be competent and qualified. So I think it was more an issue of how he viewed the process of the Senate's role in advising and consent on court nominations. That being said, he could have parsed that. He could have explained that a little bit better in his response last night, rather than simply saying, "I never supported Sotomayor," because now today the fact check comes out, and one of his quotes is, "I support the appointment of."
Right, and now he has to come out and explain that, right?
Exactly. He could have saved himself the headache.
It is tough, Basil, on a debate stage where you have so little time. And Rubio's point here was beyond just Sotomayor, but really painting Christie as a liberal, essentially, right, on a number of issues.
Right, and that's the challenge that Christie has had throughout this attempt at running for president, but it also underscores why being a Northeast Republican is so difficult. And if you look back at Mitt Romney, sort of this moderate Northeastern Republican who had to go so far to the right that, it created challenges for him in the general election. Christie is the same thing. He's having to defend not only the fact that he is what kind of Republican he is, but if you talk about whatever support he gave to Sonia Sotomayor, the embrace of the president after President Obama came to visit him and delivered much needed aid to the state. These are things that if you live in the Northeast, Republican or Democrat, these are things that you may end up doing, but it doesn't necessarily translate to a national stage when you're running in a primary and everyone's tacking more conservative.
That's a good point. We were talking before we started about running as a Northeastern and how Donald Trump was able to really get his line across and in a good way, and how it is difficult to the Republican Party today to see that. But he did it in a way where you're like, okay, he's a New Yorker, and I admire him for that. And you're running for the President of the United States, not, as we were saying, President of Iowa.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think Cruz is focused on Iowa and New Hampshire and the other early states where he probably feels this New York values line plays better, and that he can afford to offend some New Yorkers. But yeah, Trump's response I thought was very capable. I thought Cruz was doing great in the debate up until that point, going blow for blow with Trump, and the boos and jeers for Trump were the loudest I think I've heard thus far in a debate until that 9/11 response on the New York values question, and then we didn't hear from Cruz for the next two commercial breaks.
It was clear, Basil, that the Cruz team had no idea that was going to be the answer.
Correct. It seemed like they would take it completely off guard, and I think it's right. He's playing to a different audience. And look, New York, particularly among Republicans nationally, is a state that you can beat up on because we're seen as very liberal. The New York Times is, this sort of bastion of liberal journalism is rooted here, obviously. So I do think that there is, someone can think that they can score some points by hitting on New York, but it was the wrong way to do it.
Right.
And we as Democrats will certainly promote our progressive values and talk about the ways in which we've been helping and supporting the neediest among us. But I don't think that Cruz in that line and in subsequent conversations about his agenda helped himself at all. Maybe with the voters in Iowa, but overall I don't think it's so.
I have a feeling Cruz is not going to be using that line from here on out.
I think he probably retires that one.
I think he'll retire that one. Basil Flipp, thank you so much for being with us. We appreciate it. All right. Check out foxnews.com for more on the 2016 presidential race. I'm Abby Huntsman. Thanks for watching.